Hey, this is Collin Moshman for CardRunners.com. Today we have part one of a two-part series on a deep run in the Hot 22 Turbo MTT played on PokerStars. Early game, there are multiple winning styles you can play. You can play a solid tag game, sticking mainly with quality hands. You can also open up a bit more with the deeper stacks, particularly in position. But the key thing is that you want to target weak players who make significant mistakes, like radically overvaluing one pair of hands and stacking off with them even 150 blinds deep. Small blind open limps, and I raise super wide here. Queen 8 off I'm definitely going to raise, and top 50% would be fine. You could even make an argument for raising any two cards, and the reason is because he's usually going to be weak when he open limps the small blind, unless there's some advanced rake-on-rake dynamic. And if we make it 60, we're risking an additional 40 chips to win the 40 that's out there. And if he does call, that's fine as well, because he's out of position with deeper stacks, usually playing hit to win. Actually 2.5x, which is probably a slight hotkey misclick, although it doesn't matter all that much. And we're going to bet any flop here. So spots like that are excellent ways to accumulate. And I would recommend raising very wide when the small blind open limps on you. Any ace-x hand, I'm going to open raise on the button. And despite the fact this is a pretty coordinated flop, without any kind of reads, I am going to c-bet here, as pretty much if we check back, almost all turns, besides a non-spade ace, we're just going to have to fold if he bets. So we bet half pot, and pretty much we're just looking to take it down when he's missed entirely, rather than give up on the pot. A few more folds, so we're definitely not going to get too out of line. If our opponent is very tight passive, I would raise any two here. So if he has stats of, say, 13/5, I would just go ahead and make it 100, fold if I get any resistance, and then usually take the standard mid line of c-bet flop, and then just give up if I've missed. But otherwise, I would just open fold in the small blind with the junk hand. Several more folds with pocket sevens, which I will open. So my opening range here is going to be roughly sixes plus, ace-jack, ace-10 suited, king-queen, king-jack suited. And we get two callers, we flop middle set. This is kind of a smallish bet, and definitely we could bet more. We could bet 300, or even bet full pot or overbet. But the advantages to betting a bit smaller are that it's going to be more likely that we get bluff raised or played back at, because if we bet, say, 350, it looks somewhat like it is, namely that we flop kind of strong, probably an overpair or better, and we're looking to protect it. And this way also, if we want to c-bet when we've missed, we don't have to go quite as large if we're also c-betting smaller and we've connected strongly. So he calls. Now, if this turn card is, say, the queen of spades, I'm going to look to check raise, because a big part of his range is going to be floats. And so if we check, he's going to bet the vast majority of the time, and I will look to check shove on him. But very dangerous card, obviously, so I'm just going to check call here and hope to improve. And river goes check check. If he actually fired full pot, which is essentially a shove, then I would give it up, read this, unless I thought he was a very aggro player capable of that kind of multi-street line. But mainly when we call the turn, hoping to pick off floats that stab. So clear shove here with the queens. Now, my 4-bet shoving range is not going to be super wide because this looks very strong. We've raised UTG plus 1. UTG, he 3-bets quite large, over 3x UTG plus 1. I don't think his range is going to be much wider than 8s plus, ace-queen plus, ace-jack suited, possibly even tighter than that. And so I'm rarely going to 4-bet without much of a read wider than, say, jacks plus, ace-king. Queens, we happily put it in and don't hold against his ace-king. A few more folds. Queen 9 suited, facing one limp. I'm going to complete in the small blind, getting 5-1. And we don't have to play anything too fancy. If I don't flop any piece of it or any draw, then I'm usually just going to check fold, but might stab the turn if it's a blank and the flop gets checked around.